This weekend, video game fans from all over the world are descending on Atlanta for the Southern Fried Gaming Expo. The three-day event will celebrate an industry that has millions of fans and generates about $200 billion in revenue every year. Our next guest was one of the pioneers in the industry, designing games for Atari back in the 80s when home consoles were first being introduced. Welcome to psychotherapist and former video game designer Scott Warshaw. It's great to have you in this morning.
Thank you for having me, Megan.
You're welcome. So let's talk about your involvement with Atari. You were responsible for some of the best-selling games. We're talking about E.T., Yars' Revenge, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. People will be thrilled to hear that. How did you get involved and started with all that?
From a very circuitous route. I mean, I was originally in technology, but way away from video games. I was so bored with where I was at Hewlett-Packard, and a friend of mine told me about this wacky place where his wife works. Oh, what's that? He said, Atari. So I called them up, wangled my way in for an interview, and pushed and shoved and begged my way in, and was able to secure a chance.
Wow, you got to meet Steven Spielberg in your journey there.
Absolutely. That was very exciting working with Steven Spielberg. I actually did the very first movie to game conversion with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Working personally with Steven Spielberg was like a dream come true. He was my idol.
That's amazing. You've got your book here with you. You've written a book. It's called Once Upon Atari. It talks about your years there. I mean, talk about what it was like in the early days and how far we've come.
Working in video games back then was amazing because they didn't exist before that. And this was the launching of a new medium, which now happens every once in a while. It was a brand new thing. And to be able to pioneer and define a new medium was tremendously exciting as well as incredibly challenging. And the personalities you'd see, because it was a brilliant mixture of technology and art. And you don't find that kind of mixture that often. And the people who are best suited for that are really wacky, strange people. And my being one of them, certainly, it was amazing to be immersed in a pool of people exactly in that zone. It was just an amazing place to be.
The stories in this book, I'm sure, are great. I can't imagine what you've been through. And you segued from the world of video games to psychology. You're a psychotherapist now. And that's really what brings you to this convention here in Metro Atlanta this weekend. Talk about what you're going to be talking about and, you know, the bigger picture for our friends at home. What can we learn about ourselves from the games we like to play?
Well, as a therapist, I know that whatever we do expresses a lot about who we are. And your choice in entertainment is no different. If you tell me what movies you like, what books you prefer, it tells me a lot about who you are. And playing games, an interactive medium, says a tremendous amount about who we are. For example, like there's two basic kinds of games, right? There's games that end and have a finish, or there's games you just keep playing and try to do better and better and better.
Okay.
So which do you prefer? Are you a person who likes a definitive endpoint, a destination that's clear? Or do you like the adventure of just keep traveling out and trying to find more and more and how high is up?
So I loved Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo growing up. What does that say about me?
It says you tend to run in circles.
Oh, all right. Would any of my coworkers agree with that?
No, but it says you enjoy a competitive footing and you like the thrill of interaction and you like to race against other people.
Ah, yes.
Right?
Like
There's some games you play against a computer, some games you play by yourself, some you play against other people. Those are all different kinds of challenges and each one says something a little different about who you are and what your preferences are.
What about someone who's not into video games at all? Does that say something about them?
It says absolutely nothing about them.
Nothing at all. All right. Scott Warshaw, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much, Megan.